Welcome back. You're watching France 24. It's the picture of a heartbreaking farewell kiss. The date was May 14th, 1941. In a trial run for Vichy France's contribution to the final solution, French police stand by while a couple embraces. The man, one of 3,700 foreign-born Jews summoned as part of the so-called Green Notice roundup. This is one of 98 photos uncovered, all the work of Harry Krohn, a half-German, half-Jewish German man who was working for the propaganda outfit of the German government in Paris at the time. The 98 photos on display at Paris's Shoah Memorial. And that brings us to our Spotlight segment. And with us is Jean-Marc Dreyfus, professor of history at Manchester University, chief editor of the French journal Revue d'Histoire de la Shoah. You're one of the curators of this exhibit. 98 photos where the photographer sheds light on what really happened, because you see in these pictures not just official propaganda, but you see the sorrow and suffering of those who are being summoned, some of them for that one-way trip to the concentration camps.
It's quite extraordinary. They are very extraordinary pictures. It's a real discovery for history, on memory, because it's like a reportage. You see sometimes minute by minute, what's happening around the sports hall in the 11th arrondissement of Paris, Gymnase Japy, when those people were summoned, and it was a trap. And you see the trap, in the trap made up by Theodore Dannecker, who was the envoy of Eichmann in Paris. You see him on the photos very closely. And so they were summoned for document control, identity control. They are foreign Jews, so they hope to get real documents. And they were summoned to arrive with a guest, with someone escorting them. Once they went into the sports hall, and this is really documented by the photos, they could not go out. It was a trap. And then the escort, for most of them, their spouse, were sent back to the house with the instruction, and they were given a list of things to bring for a 3-day trip, 3 days only. So you see the woman, and with many of them with children, young children, coming back with the luggage and the small set.
Now, you mentioned Eichmann, one of the architects of what was called the final solution. Mm-hmm. He was careful throughout the war to carefully only show some pictures. German public opinion was not shown the orchestration of the mass slaughter of Jews. And so what kind of risks did the photographer take with pictures like the one we're seeing here of a woman staring at a French policeman?
Yeah, I mean, this is the irony, and this is the work we have done since the photo has been disclosed, already 5 years ago. The work I've done in this book that I recommend, which is kind of the catalogue of the exhibition. It's, in fact, the photographer was an official photographer of the German Wehrmacht propaganda, the German army, not the Ministry of Propaganda by Goebbels. So he was probably wearing himself a German uniform. It's quite extraordinary. He could approach the German high commanders, the German high officers very closely. So it was authorized pictures. He was commissioned to take photos for the propaganda in spring 1941 of the mass arrest, not the killing. Killing came much later. Deportation came much later. Of the mass arrest. But what is really the irony is that none of the photos, 98 photos, it's a lot, 98 photos, none of them have been used at the time of the occupation, 1941.
Because they tell human stories of those who are being rounded up.
Absolutely. You have a human glaze, you have a human empathy, we can say, which is... So he went out of his role of a propagandist of the German army.
And he himself was half Jewish.
So that's something we discovered, because he has been identified. How was he identified? Because he stamped and signed many other photos in the bunch, 98 photos out of 2,000 that were brought to the Shoah Memorial. So it was a detective story, to identify the guy. And then you Google him, Harry Kroner, and you discover that he was known. He's very well known in Germany because he became a noted, very famous photographer in West Berlin after the war till 1989. So he was not a secret person.
He's not a secret person, and these pictures shed light on an incident that, well, many French people don't know. The French know about 1942 and the roundup of French Jews, the first big roundup of French Jews in Paris at the Vel d'Hiv, the indoor cycling track, which has since been destroyed. Behind you is a photograph of that gymnasium in the 11th arrondissement of Paris. It's still there today. It's still used for boxing and fencing and
children.
Most people don't know that this was actually sort of the dry run for that roundup.
It's true. It's not known by public memory. As you said, the 1942 Vel d'Hiv roundup became the national landmark. It's the day of Holocaust commemoration, official commemoration in France, 16th and 17th of July. But this first roundup, so more than a year later, is not known. It was known from historians, and it was known in the family of survivors. Of course, they remember very vividly, the transmission was passed from one generation to the other.
Is it a second shock for the French? Again, the pictures of French police officers assisting in this roundup of Jews.
I'm not sure it's a shock. French memory has evolved in the last 40 years. It's known that the Vichy regime, the French police collaborated, happily, I would say, in the roundup. We know how it was organized. It was not a decision made by the French government. It was a decision made by the Germans. But then the French abided and helped a lot. And this is also something that is very closely documented in the 1988 photos. You see the German in command, and you see the French police administrators, the commissaire de police, abiding and obeying the orders. You have the hierarchy of orders shown very, very profoundly by the photos. Harry Kroner was a great photographer.
And he shows what he's not supposed to show. Jean-Marc Dreyfus, one final question on this, which is, what pictures stuck out the most for you? What was the biggest shock for you personally?
Of course, it's the kiss, the one that is on the poster of the exhibition at the Shoah Memorial, because this photo, maybe we can show it, the kiss, this photo, evokes another famous photo of Paris, which is the kiss, the fiancé de l'Hôtel de Ville, this couple.
The famous picture by Robert Doisneau that's sold in all the tourist shops.
Absolutely known worldwide, but it is a different kiss, And so it evokes this photo by Doisneau, 1941, but it's not a happy kiss.
And there's that one police officer who's looking at the camera.
Looking at the camera, and there is one that is kind of, nice, and the one is very, defensive. And you see another Jew, afraid, you see that, and you have the group. Harry Kroner was a good photographer of group of many people. Most of them are very remarkable. I would not say artistic; they are very remarkable. They will remain, and it will take us years, to study and to come to terms with these photos. They are very exceptional. And
there's still a mystery. They were stumbled upon in a flea market in the Champagne city of Reims.
Yes, we don't know where they were between 1944 and 2000. It's a mystery. How they arrived, how come that they were found in this flea market? Did they leave France? Were they sent back to Germany? Return to France? Who owns them? We don't know. Maybe we'll never know.
In any case, they're on display at the memorial of the Shoah Museum, which is in Paris's 4th arrondissement. Mm-hmm. I want to thank you so much, Jean-Marc Dreyfus, for being with us here on France 24.
Thank you very much.